Jesse Espinosa, owner of RCS Plumbing. Welcome to Landlord Confidential.
Thanks for having me today.
For the audience out there, let me give a quick introduction. So I know you as a son, a husband, a girl dad, a brother to 11. You're an uncle. You're a razor racer, an urban farmer, a dirt bike adventurer, a dooner, a coach, a social media influencer, and a pretty good guy. What did I miss?
Well, I think you got pretty much all of it. I'm not the razor racer. My daughter is, but yeah, we love being outdoors,
But you
racing
definitely
around.
taught her everything she knows, right?
Yeah, she's got the lead foot from me. But, yep.
I think that's where the coach part came in because you're a coach raiser, right?
Yeah.
Is that the more
Yep, I
technical
coach
term?
her.
Okay.
Coach her in her razor racing.
Yeah. Good correction. All right. Let's start out with an easy one for the audience. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Queen Creek, Arizona, so local to Arizona. Yeah, pretty much grew up there, played football when I was younger, and we actually moved to Utah during my high school years, and then we moved back after my high school years, so yeah.
Been here most of your life then.
Yep.
How'd you get started in plumbing?
So my oldest brother, Jimmy, he got into the plumbing industry young, and he just really enjoyed it. He actually loved what he did, and then he kind of grew to a certain point to where he was like, hey, I want to start my own plumbing company. And so him and my dad started Iconic Plumbing, and growing up I learned to plumb and plumbed with them, and then I kind of went off on my own adventure and started a plumbing company.
Yeah. Let's actually. Could you tell the audience how did you jump into entrepreneurship? Why did you make that leap of faith?
So I had a mentor, I guess you could call him, Justin Reed. He owned RCS Heating Cooling. He just had a HVAC company, and he would work with a lot of investors and property management companies like you guys, and in every end of the year meeting, they would ask him, hey, can you start a plumbing division? Because we love how you operate as a HVAC company. You guys nail everything on the head. So for the longest time, he'd tell them, no, I'm not interested. I don't know the first thing about plumbing, so I'm going to hold off. And then finally, he ended up taking that to a more serious level, and he asked with inside his company if any of his HVAC guys knew a plumber. And at the time, my brother-in-law worked for him, and so he was like, hey, I know a plumber. I don't know. He works with families, so I don't know if he'll really be interested. And he's like, give me his number. I want to meet with him. Mm-hmm. And so he ended up reaching out with me, and we ended up meeting, and I really liked him and thought it'd be a great opportunity to start a plumbing division. Mm-hmm. And so I came over, helped him get all that up and running, and after a couple of years of doing that, he decided that it was time for him to exit and sell the plumbing division and also the HVAC division. And so I bought him out on the plumbing side, and then Brad, he bought him out on the HVAC side, and here we are 2 years in, running it by ourselves, and it's been great.
Yeah, it's amazing. Obviously, a big shift, right, from an employee to an owner. Talk to us about that mindset. Like, what do you like in transitioning into being an owner now, and where your energy is focused?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, like I said, Justin was kind of a mentor, so he kind of took me from, hey, you're going to be the first plumber to start this. And I think that was kind of the initial mindset of like, you're not just an employee,
Yeah.
This is going to be your division to grow. And with the pressure of me being the only plumber, I had to know more about how to run a successful business, how to be provide 5-star experiences for customers, how to talk to people. And so kind of all those things that he was teaching me that I didn't really know at the time, I just thought it was something I needed to do as, you know, an employee or a manager. Kind of all those small steps led up to, hey, this is how you operate a business. And then now I'm kind of learning more of the business side of things, you know, all the financials, you know, investing back into your company and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
But,
So in the beginning, you were doing everything on your own. You're actually out in the field doing plumbing for them. You're doing scheduling, like you're really learning the ropes of.
not so much scheduling. They had their HVAC scheduler kind of schedule all the plumbing stuff, but once we grew to where we needed our own scheduler, we hired somebody for scheduling, and then as we grew in the plumbing field, we, you know, hired more plumbers, brought on more techs to handle the load of plumbing work that came in very quickly, actually.
What's been the most fulfilling part of being an owner?
One of the things that I really enjoy and focus on is our culture as a company. We try and not have everything just be about work. Yes, work and making sure the company is successful is very important, but we also want to make sure that we're having fun, you know, that we're a family, a work family, and that people enjoy being a part of the company and that they see a vision, because without a vision, you're just going to get employees that are there short term, and we don't really like to focus on short term employees. We want everybody to be there long term.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of, I just like the connection part with our
Yeah, I
plumbers
think that's
and our office staff.
really obvious that you guys breed that. You have like a family team, right? And like every year you and your partner Brad on the HVAC side come out and bring lunch to your clients, right? And like you sit down and have a conversation about how things are going, and it sounds like you do the same thing for your team, right? I know you have a pretty epic Christmas party every single year.
Yeah, with our Christmas party, we like to give back to the community, and that's, I know I brought Justin Reed up, but he's kind of the one that's, you know, put these foundations in place and really taught them to us. He taught us that everything we have is for a reason, and that we should be grateful for what we have, and we need to give back, because we are grateful for all the work we get through the year, and we know it's not just by chance. I mean, we put in hard work, and we want to give back to those people that need it.
That's a great culture that you built, and not only do you do stuff on the holidays, but it sounds like something you do consistently throughout the year, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So we set monthly goals as a company, and if we reach those goals, we like to go out as a company. We'll have our employees bring their spouse or significant other, and we'll go out and do an activity. We'll go out and go somewhere to lunch or to dinner, and we're just able to connect outside of work, you know, put work aside, and hey, who are you as a person? Like, you know, get to know their spouses, their significant others, and really find out what's important to them. And I think that creates a positive culture to where they feel more connected. They're not just, work and forget about work when I go home and forget about the people that they're around at work. So,
How big is the team now?
so we have 8 plumbers, 3 office staff. So we're about 11 to 12, and we're going to be hiring more here soon.
Yeah, as you're growing this team, what steps are you taking to make sure that the new people that you're bringing on align with that culture?
So really, we like to train plumbers from kind of ground zero. We like to bring guys in that, you know, are hard workers, have similar interests, that want to be part of a team, a family. We kind of try to stay away from those people that are all about one more dollar. I'm just here because McDonald's pays 14 and you guys pay 16. You know, those people aren't going to last because as soon as they hear about the next dollar, they're going to go chase it. So, yeah, we really focus on people that want to be part of a family, that want to be part of something that's growing, because we are a newer company, and we have a big vision to grow as big as we can and to add as much value as we can in the plumbing industry.
Yeah. As a new entrepreneur in a fast-growing company, have you made any bad hires?
Yeah, there's been ones. I mean, I always tell myself that I wouldn't hire an older plumber, you know, from the older generation. And so I kind of went against my rule, and I hired one, and it didn't work out. You know, he had a lot of experience, but couldn't really keep up with the young guys anymore. And he wasn't really aiming for a management position. He was just aiming for a job. And so with us, I mean, we hit 8 calls a day in each van because we're busting them out because we do a lot of work for property management. So we go in with pre-approvals, so we already know what we're doing, and we get them done. And he could only handle like 3 calls, and so it was kind of like, hey, sorry, can't work out. And I should have known better from the start because that was one of my rules. So no, there's been a couple, but that was just kind of the main one.
Yeah, it's amazing culture you built, and I'd say one of the best things about RCS Plumbing that you built is your emergency response game. It's been a struggle for us for a long time. It's really hard to get folks to want to come out to properties on weekends after hours. Once we found you guys, it's never been a problem. We have an emergency, we contact RCS, you guys dispatch somebody out there. I imagine that has a lot to do with your culture. Like, talk to us about how you built such an amazing response time.
Yeah, so it really comes down to our plumbers just love what they do, and that's really what it comes down to. They know that they know first the industry that they're in is going to have emergencies, so they know what to expect, and we also value their time. You know, we let them know, like, hey, if there's something, because we have an on-call rotation, so every guy knows what week is his, and you know, if they have something where they're like, hey, I have a dinner Friday night and I can't really move it because it's a birthday dinner or something, you know, one of our guys will cover for them, or we'll kind of block out that time. But we always make sure somebody's available, and because we specialize in property management, we know that response times have to be quick, and that the communication has to be there. And so we have just set ourselves up to where we cater to the property management industry, and so we don't use it as filler work. Like, that's our main bread and butter, our focus, and so we just make sure that we get somebody out there as quick as possible and that the house isn't getting more damage done to it.
Great. How do you use technology in your day-to-day business? How does it make you better?
I mean, we have a CRM. We use Jobber, and that's able to, you know, line up all of our appointments for the week and for the day. We're able to track where our vehicles are. So if, you know, emergency comes in the middle of the day and they're like, hey, can you guys get somebody there ASAP? We can see where our vehicles are, and we can, oh, hey, your next call is a toilet handle or a toilet flapper. That's not really emergency. Just hit the emergency one first and then go to your next one. And so that's been nice with technology, because I don't know how they did it back in the day, how they would even schedule.
Big old map board.
Yeah, big old map board. Okay, he's here. He should be like over in this area at this time. But yeah, no, technology is a huge thing.
So Jobber does the vehicle tracking too? Like, it's all in one, or do you have to use several different platforms?
No, so Jobber offers like a GPS option. You know, you purchase the GPSs, you put them in the truck, and so on the Jobber platform, you can see on their map where the vehicle is, and then it also shows like all their scheduled appointments, and so you can see how close they are to their next scheduled, and it's pretty cool. We like it. It works for us in the property management world. So.
And then we always seem to, like, your system seems to keep us very up to date on, like, when their expected arrival time is, when they're finished. Like, that's all automated too, built into the system?
No, so that's not automated. So we have a full operational office. Our dispatcher, if you guys send in a work order, we respond to it that the plumber is going to be there between 2 and 5 window.
Yeah.
And we monitor our plumbers very closely, so if we see that they're going to be past their window, we'll update you guys and the tenants to let them know that, hey, they're running a little bit behind, but they'll still be there. Because one of our core values is communication. Communication is very important, especially to you guys as property managers, because the more you know, the less you're going to be breathing down our backs, like, what's going on?
That's
Why
right.
aren't you there?
It's all about proactive.
Because you guys are trying to provide the best service to your investors, and so,
Yeah, you've made that easy for us.
yeah, that's why when we pitch to property management, we specialize in property management, and we really believe that we are the best in providing the best plumbing and HVAC for property management.
Yeah.
I know a common issue that we see pop up from time to time in property management are roots growing into drain lines and stuff, and I know that sometimes you guys are suggesting jetting roots, right? Or whether sometimes that you have to actually go in and replace an entire section of a drain line. So talk to us about when's it appropriate to jet versus when it's beyond that.
Yeah, so jetting will always relieve the situation, right? So if you've got roots that are growing in and we can't dig it up same day, we're going to recommend that you jet it. Or if owners are like, hey, I don't want to do the whole dig up, I got to kind of save up for that large of an expense, then we can jet it, maintain it. Jetting is more of like a maintaining, because they're going to always grow back. And then, if you're wanting to just get rid of the issue completely, then it's best to dig down, replace that section of pipe. But we also have a new technology that we do, which is the pipe coating and the pipe lining, to where we can actually not have to dig it up and we can shoot a liner. Where we see that come really in handy is like, under streets, to where the homeowner's not gonna have to pull permits to break up the city sidewalk in the street. And so we can save costs there, and or also inside the home, because nobody likes to break up their tile or rip out vanities, kitchen sinks, so we can actually go in and shoot a liner or coat it with epoxy. So that's been a cool technology that's come out in the plumbing industry.
And is that for cast iron pipes or clay
Yeah, it's for all
pipes or all
pipes.
types of
Yeah,
pipes?
all
You can put a
types of
liner
pipe.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
As long as the pipes as long as there's a pathway, then we can make it work. But
Okay.
if the dirt's collapsed completely and we can't open up a pathway, then we have to dig it up.
Yeah. What's the lifespan on a liner?
There's all kinds. I mean, there's companies out there that claim 50 plus years.
What are these liners made out of?
So they're made out of epoxy resin, and then also like a sock-like material. So the sock-like material is like the, I don't know what you can call it, like what it's made out of, and then you put the resin inside of it, and then the amount of resin that you use, the mixture, gives you a cure time, and so it allows you to shoot that in there, and then you put a cowl tube in there, which expands the liner to the pipe, and then it's got to dry for, could be 30 minutes, an hour. It just depends on your mixture and how quick you want it to cure.
Right. Awesome. Another thing we hear a lot about are trending now seems to be tankless water heaters, having on-demand hot water in your home.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the difference between a tankless versus...
Yeah, so really, with water heaters, tankless we only really recommend with gas because they're more efficient. Almost nobody has enough room on their power grid or their
panel
to be able to provide enough electricity to an electric tankless. It can be done in smaller situations, but we kind of try to stay away from that just because the technology's not there yet. But with gas, yes, they're very efficient because they're not constantly heating up a tank of water. If you don't use it, it's not going to kick on. So it's like you guys said, it's on demand. So as soon as you open a faucet, it's going to heat up and then send it to your faucet or to your shower. And then you have infinite hot water as well because it's just constantly heating as long as that faucet's open. But they've been great. People love them because they don't run out of hot water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take an hour-long shower.
Yeah,
and
you
never
can
run
throw
out
a
of hot
load
water.
of laundry in while taking a shower and not run out of hot water.
So when you have all 11 of your siblings over, everybody can take a hot shower back to back
Yeah.
without a problem.
Yeah.
Back to the main plumbing line, a lot of times you'll recommend to us that we send a camera down the line, right? Like, talk to us when you think a camera is appropriate or when you should just go ahead and put a liner in. Like, how do you think through that process?
Yeah, so anytime we, if we get called out for a kitchen backup, and if it's an older home, like cast iron pipe, we always want to camera those because a lot of times there's breaks because all cast iron is past its life expectancy. So we know that it's best to scope it and see if there's a deeper issue or if it's just a ton of buildup. And the camera really just tells us what's going on.
Yeah.
Because we can't see in the pipes without it. So anytime there's a stoppage, it's always best to camera it, even if it's ABS piping. Just because even with ABS piping, you'll get bellies in the line, and bellies is settling of the pipe, and so it holds water or holds solids. And if we can send the camera down, then we can tell the pitch of the pipe, and we can see if it's going downhill and then uphill, and then that will tell us that there's a belly. And so the more times that a homeowner or a property investor can approve a camera inspection, then the more that they'll be able to see what the conditions of the pipe are.
Yeah. Because if there's a belly, a pipeliner is not going to solve that problem.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. What is a camera scoping cost?
So you're usually, anywhere between $300 to $400. It kind of just depends on the extent of the cameraing needed.
Yeah. What's the craziest thing you've seen on one of those cameras?
You see rats in there all the time.
That's what I always see, and I'm
Sewer
always
rats,
surprised. I
yeah.
see rats on them. Yeah.
It's
So-
funny because our guys when they camera, they kind of jump like, oh, what was that?
Yeah.
It's like seeing a ghost on the
Yeah.
camera.
Yes.
Snakes occasionally?
Yeah. No, we don't run into snakes
No?
here.
No
I mean,
snakes?
I've seen plumbing videos where it's more like in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
They have snakes over there in their toilets. I'm glad we don't have to deal with that
Yeah.
because that would be scary with a rattlesnake trying to bite
Yeah.
you. There's cockroach. There's like infested with cockroaches.
Yeah.
But out of toilets, we've pulled out crazy stuff. Always kids throwing
Yeah.
stuff down there. So
Kids' toys.
Kids'
That-
toys.
yeah.
One time we pulled out like a spoon. I don't know what that was doing there, but yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stuff.
What's your thought on these flushable wipes? Are these really flushable, or should people not be
I-
flushing these down the
I have a
drain?
theory that they were probably invented by a plumber.
So you pay them to come out and snake the drain?
Job security?
Job security.
So flushable
No.
wipes are not flushable?
So
Did
my
I get that on
opinion,
camera?
they're not flushable. But my opinion is, if you have ABS, you're in a new home.
Yeah.
I mean, we flush wipes down there.
Yeah.
But if you have a septic, if you have cast iron or any older home, you probably don't want to do it because, your sewer pipes aren't smooth anymore, so stuff isn't just going to flow easily.
Yep.
And then septic, it'll ruin your septic.
So if there's anything for that wipe to grab onto, it's just
Yeah.
going to build up over time. The next wipe's going to grab onto that, and it's just going to eventually it's
yeah,
going to turn into
or
a
all the
clog.
solids will
Yeah.
catch on that wipe, and then you get it back up. So
And is a camera the only way you can determine what kind of material you have when you drain lines, or how do you?
it kind of gets hard especially if a home's been remodeled, an older home, because a lot of people will replace the plumbing inside the wall, but they won't replace the plumbing underground. So it's hard to say, because you could say, look under your sink, and if you see ABS pipe, then you most likely have ABS. But yeah, it's just kind of hard to say. So yeah, camera would be the definite answer.
And you can tell on a camera for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some pipes that are kind of very close, like Orangeburg is a pipe from like the early 1900s or middle 1900s, and that pipe is kind of hard to tell between that cast iron and ABS, but cast iron is pretty easy to tell because it's a metal pipe and it tends to rust and flake.
Are all new properties on ABS, or do they still use cast iron?
No, they still use cast iron on commercial,
Commercial. Okay.
but they don't use it on new builds. They use ABS.
Mm-hmm. And why do they use cast iron on commercial? What's the...
That's actually a good question. I don't know the answer to that one. Because they allow, I don't think it's any specific reason, but because you can use PVC, ABS, or cast iron.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of also by city what their requirements are,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's kind of just their codes per city.
Yeah. Back to water heaters. That's one of our most common calls. Like, in your opinion, how can a homeowner extend the lifespan of their water heater? What are the best practices there?
With the tanked water heaters, like your traditional electric or gas tank, the best way you can maintain those is you should flush them every 6 months, or at least every year, just because they get calcium buildup inside because you have those quick heating elements, or you have a constant gas burner at the bottom of a water heater.
Yeah.
And so when the water's heating up at such a quick temperature, and you get that calcium that just solidifies, and if you don't flush it out, that's just going to continue to build over the years. So you may have a 50-gallon electric water heater, but maybe only 40 gallons or 30 gallons of that is actual water, and the other is sediment. So
yeah.
the more you can flush those out, the longer life you're going to get on your water heaters.
Mm-hmm. What lifespan should someone expect out of a modern water heater if it's flushed?
You're looking at you could probably get 10 to 12 years,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're not maintaining it, you're going to be right there at the end of the warranty, 6 to 8 years.
Mm.
So, and then if you have a water softener, they can last even longer because you're eliminating that sediment before it gets to the water heater.
How does a water softener work? How is it softening the water?
So with a water softener, it has resin beads inside of it, and so basically you're taking the water and into the brine tank. The brine tank will clean the resin beads so that every time the water filters through it, you're getting purified water. Or not purified, but you're getting soft water.
Mm-hmm.
And then that transfers to all your water fixtures, and you're not getting the hard calcium buildup on your fixtures, the water spots.
Yeah.
And then it's not breaking down all the internals and your faucets and your shower heads and all of that.
Yeah. What routine maintenance do you need for your water softener?
So we always recommend that those get looked at least one time a year, just to run a check on it, make sure it's operating correctly, and regenerating. And then also we run a cleaning solution through it. That way it can kind of break all the buildup inside the system and then flush it out.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of water filtration methods out there. What's your preferred for the standard homeowner? What's going to be the best long-term value for a homeowner in terms of filtration systems?
So we really just like the traditional water softener. You got your tank, and then you got your brine tank that holds the salt. It's just something that's always worked, and we believe why change something that's worked. Not saying that there isn't something better, but
Mm-hmm.
we see those last longer and provide a better water quality for the
Mhm.
home. But like you said, there's millions out there.
Yeah. What are the other two most popular? The carbon filter, is that a popular
Yeah,
one?
so carbon filter, that'll get rid of the chlorine in the
Chlorine,
water.
okay.
So that's really good for, if you're on city water,
Mhm.
you'll want to have a carbon filter before the softener. And that'll get rid of that kind of odor and
Mhm.
dryness from the chlorine that it puts on your skin.
Yeah.
So.
And then they got these ultra fancy ones that are shooting ultraviolet light into the water, right? Like,
Yeah, that one's kind of just like and even the place that we get our softeners from, it's kind of just like a fancy thing.
Yeah.
It's not really,
Yep.
because there are important minerals in water
Mhm.
that your body needs that
Yeah.
also, like for drinking and just to be on your body when you shower. But the ultraviolet light is kind of an overkill.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of this. They put it as it was kind of a COVID thing, kind of when everybody was kind of like crazy about germs, and so they were like ultraviolet, that'll like kill everything, so you'll be safe. And it was kind of just an upsell thing. But that's my opinion.
Yep.
Other plumbers may have different opinions.
Yeah, if
but-
they're making a commission on it.
Exactly.
The dreaded word every homeowner hates to hear in Arizona is a slab leak. Talk to us about those. Like, what do you typically see as the most common cause of a slab leak?
So
What is a slab leak?
Yeah, so slab leak is, so before PEX came around, there was copper pipes, and copper pipes were ran underground underneath the slab. And so a slab leak is when one of those copper pipes has a crack or a hole that comes in and it's shooting water underneath your slab. And how that happens is just the shifting of the ground whenever you have, the hot and cold temperatures, and then the ground's settling and expanding, contracting, and then also the pipe is also expanding and contracting. And just with all that movement, you get wear on the pipe, and also on the inside of the pipe gets wear on it just from all the use. And hard water, that'll eat away at your pipes. And the way that we have to fix those is we either will break up the foundation. Well, we'll locate it with technology. We have this equipment that can listen through the slab, and we can detect where it's the loudest, and that indicates where the leak is. And then we also if the leak isn't large enough to where we can hear the water, then we'll put CO2 in the line, and that'll make it bubble louder, and so then we can hear it.
Okay.
And then that's where we'll mark where the leak is. In most cases, a reroute up overhead in PEX pipe is the best scenario, just to get rid of that line, because usually when you have one problem, you're going to have another problem down the line. And so if you're wanting to not have that issue arise on that same line again, it's best to go with a reroute. But if you're just wanting to do a quick fix, we can break it up and fix it.
And obviously, like, a lot of times owners will put this off as a pretty expensive repair, mostly with labor, right, and accessing where it's at. Like, what are the consequences if you don't make these repairs?
Well, if you don't make the repair to a slab leak, you're going to create a huge cavity underneath your slab, underneath your foundation of your home, and that water is just going to continue to run, so you're going to have a high water bill. And then that water will eat away at the pipes, and so it'll just become a bigger and bigger leak. And yeah, it wouldn't be a good situation to ignore.
Festers, yeah.
Yeah.
How do owners typically discover they have a slab leak?
So usually they'll notice a high water bill.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually one indicator. And then also, if it's a hot water slab leak on a hot water pipe, they'll feel a hot spot on the floor, and then they don't know where that hot spot comes from, so they'll call a plumber and, hey, I have a random hot spot in my home, and then we normally can find that it's a slab leak.
What's the average number of gallons that a typical household will use in a month? Do you know that number? Like, where should people think, maybe I do have a slab leak, but what's that magic number? 10,000
I don't
gallons?
know that magic number. No, it'd have to be a lot more than 10.
What's a way that owners can diagnose on their own? Is there a way that they can determine?
So, I mean, a lot of times the way they know is because they consistently use the same amount of water every month, So if their bill is always $200 and they get a $500 bill, they're gonna be like,
That's
what's going on, dude?
Yeah.
Nobody left the hose on, did this, so they'll be like, I think I have a slab leak.
A lot of times the city will alert you too, right?
Yeah,
If
the
they
city
see
will,
that there's
if there's a high
spike.
consumption, yeah. And so, yeah, that's kind of the way to monitor it, is if you just have a random spike in a water bill.
Yeah.
What was the other question? Yes, another one.
Well, I guess, what are some things that homeowners or landlords should look at in terms of their plumbing systems, preventative maintenance wise? Like, what should they be doing on a regular basis to prevent floods, to prevent unnecessary expenses?
Yeah, so the number one thing we always recommend is that the main shutoff to the home is operational, that you can shut it on and off, because if anything goes wrong inside the home with the water pipes and anything starts to flood, the tenants or the homeowners can just go outside and shut that valve off, and it'll kill all the water to the inside of the home. So then if that's functioning, they're gonna have less damage inside their home, and then they can shut it off, and then we can get out there as plumbers and fix the leak. As well as every sink in the home and also to the toilet, they'll have shutoffs. They're called angle stops, and there's two styles. There's a quarter turn that just, is a quarter turn, and then there's also a gate valve that twists. You have to twist it multiple times to close all the way, and then untwist it to open it. And you always want to make sure those are functioning properly, because if a toilet's constantly running, or say the supply line breaks, you can just shut it off right there at the toilet, rather than having to shut off all the water to your home at the main valve. So those are also important to make sure that are always functioning.
Yeah.
Because those can also, the handles can break on those too, and they can flood out a home.
And what do you prefer between a gate valve and a quarter turn valve?
So quarter turn is kind of what everybody's putting in now, just because they're made of metal, and so they last longer instead of being a plastic valve.
Makes sense.
So yeah, if they can maintain those, they'll be good in any emergency water situation.
It's been great, Jesse. You've shared a lot of great information with us today. Tell everybody listening to the podcast how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so you guys can get a hold of us at our office via phone. Our number is 480-372-0158. And then also we share a lot of media on Instagram, and we're rcs.plumbing. So yeah, those are the two methods that we recommend you reach out to us. You can also go to our website, and that has our email and everything.
Great. Thanks for your time today, Jesse. Reach out to RCS Plumbing if you have any plumbing needs.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Boom. I forgot about